Look at me, sure. I'm the Captain Nemo.
Captain James! How?
Ahoy there. Welcome to Rated Aargh. Thank you for joining us on another adventure as we chart our course through the realms of cinematic piracy. Today we're setting sail on our DeLorean Black Pearl as we journey back to 1954's 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. My name is Ryan, and please join me in welcoming my co-captains Christian and Braxton. And guys, we're closing out 2025 with a banger. How did y'all like this movie?
Wait, I thought you said to watch the Nemo movie. Did I watch the wrong...
Finding Nemo movie?
Oh, wrong.
Did you see my Letterboxd review for this movie?
Yes.
What did you think?
I know. I thought of, while looking up pictures to put back here on this TV, there was a meme that someone had made, like a boomer meme with the Captain Nemo's face and being like, "Screw Pixar for making people not know who this man is."
Yeah, I mean,
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's true. Finding Nemo, I feel like, is definitely more recognizable than Captain Nemo from 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
But let me just say, we did watch the movie. This was just that's just a bit back there. And to prove we watched the movie, I'm going to cosplay as
Heck yeah,
as
Captain Nemo.
Captain Nemo right now.
All right. Well, I'm joined by Captain Nemo and Christian this week. No longer Braxton. We don't know who that guy is anymore.
I mean, I do kind of have his beard.
Yeah, I guess.
I just need gigantic eyebrows and crazy eyes.
I guess so. Christian, I know you said that you had seen this previously. Braxton, was this your first time to see this movie?
Basically, yeah. I feel like I've seen parts of it, but I don't remember. I didn't remember anything about it.
Okay, I'd never seen this before. Christian, as someone who has seen this before and has recently watched it again for the podcast, how do you feel about it?
I did not enjoy it the most, but I do think it is a product of its period, of its time period, to where it was one of those big movies at the time. And I not only have seen this one, but I have seen the original, which is 1916,
yeah.
The silent film, which was apparently the first movie ever filmed underwater. So, am I correct in saying that this was Disney's, right?
This one, yes.
Was this the first ever live action?
Treasure
live
Island
action?
was, I believe, and this was then made after Treasure Island.
Okay.
So it's connected to it in that way.
Yeah, because Treasure Island, which is the first one we did on the show, is 1950.
And it was a success. So like, oh, well, let's keep making these and have bigger budgets. And this was sort of the result of that.
Yeah, and I think Walt Disney saw some drawings and stuff from the guy that actually is the guy who designed the way that the ship, the Nautilus, actually looks. And his name is... Harper Goff. Yeah.
It's sad that I knew that before I did this research or watched this movie, because I know random Disney ride stuff. He also did a bunch of Imagineering stuff, that guy.
Yeah. So that Harper Goff, I think had maybe, seen the 1916 one and had some like storyboards and different things. And I think maybe he had even...
What they had was, because this was in the Wikipedia, which it's really funny because it's a meme, right? Of like, oh, we have this extra stock footage. What movie can we make out of it? At the time, they were making documentaries. Disney was funding tons of nature documentaries, like the 50s version of like Planet Earth.
Yeah.
And they had a bunch of this underwater footage, and they were like, hey, why don't we like make a movie to use this footage?
Did Disney already have that? I read was that Harper Goff actually had some footage that he had put together as well. Whether they had stock footage or not, apparently he had like kind of designed this ship, and he had the storyboards and different things that he had kind of drawn inspiration from, and I think Walt Disney like saw that and contacted him and was like, "Hey, we should do something with this." Yeah, which is pretty cool. There's a lot to talk about with this movie, as it seems like with any like 1950s era, like Disney movies, because a lot of things were done for the first time. It seems like around that time.
The one addition that I have to this, because I was kind of heavily critical of it at first, with what I said about it. I think it is much more. I think it has much more importance as a book, and I say that specifically because I think this is one of those stories that is so unique and like different to what anyone would have been familiar with, and so it's almost one of those things like Narnia or a bunch of books that we grew up with that were just like these unique, interesting worlds that we had no idea about. And so we imagined them as however we did in our heads. And I think ultimately, if you see the movie after that, it is going to disappoint.
Yeah.
And so I think this may have done that for some people, but at the time it was also groundbreaking and a spectacle for the period.
Yeah, it definitely was. So 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea is a 1954 film that was produced by Disney, as we've touched on, that is based on the 1870 Jules Verne novel of the same name. The film was released on December 23rd, 1954, with a budget of $5 million, and it's speculated somewhere between $5 million and $9 million, I think, is kind of where that the listed budget is $5 million, but the Wikipedia article said something like it's not an exact number. It's somewhere between $5 million and $9 million, which either way is the like most that Disney had ever spent on a movie at the time. And this movie brought in a total box office of $28.2 million, so it was successful. The cost for this film made it the most expensive and ambitious production that Disney had taken up at the time, and I would think probably the most ambitious before that might have been Treasure Island, I would think, because they were kind of getting their feet wet in the live action stuff, I think, at this time. So this was the first Disney film to be distributed by Buena Vista, and 20,000 Leagues was photographed in Technicolor and was one of the first feature-length motion pictures to be filmed in CinemaScope at a 2.55 to 1 anamorphic aspect ratio. As Christian mentioned, there's also a 1916 silent film that predated this, and I think some of the underwater footage from the original is actually used in this one as well, which is pretty neat that they were able to take that. And it's crazy to me that in 1916 we had the technology to shoot footage underwater. Still blows my mind.
You know, it was
and have
the
it look
most
good.
like janky looking box that they built in order to do that.
Oh,
it had to.
I'm sure it was, but dude,
and someone died while they were doing it. That always happened. Like, you know what I mean? Someone always died.
yeah, but I mean, just crazy to me, man, that we are able to shoot stuff underwater like over 100 years ago. So Rotten Tomatoes has this at a 91% critic score and a 74% audience score. It's a 7.2 out of 10 on IMDb and a 3.5 out of 5 on Letterboxd. So pretty strong across the board in terms of like the reception and the ratings, just from the general public on these. I'd have to go back and look at where this stands. I'm thinking 91% critic score is probably towards the top of any of the movies that we've looked at so far on the podcast. But I mean, pretty solid across the board. I have a logline looting. This one is from Disney Plus, and I mean, part of the reason that we even do the logline looting at all is because Disney Plus has the most egregious loglines that you've ever seen. And the one for this one is climb aboard the Nautilus and into an undersea world of adventure.
What is the Nautilus? If you've never seen this before,
Yeah.
what?
I feel like they have
it sucks.
they think people have some kind of preconceived notion about what this movie is, and they're like, oh, we don't need to say much because people know. And I don't know if that's true. I mean, as we've talked about before, the importance of a logline is to get people who have no idea what the movie is to click on and watch whatever it is that you have.
Yeah, someone would read that and be like, wait, they want me to climb on top of one of those little sea creatures that goes like this? It looks like a little like shell turned up sideways.
So Christian, I don't know if you have an alternative log line, but I wrote one just because and mine's not funny or anything, but this is the log line that I put together earlier. And it is Rumors of a sea monster attacking ships lead Professor Pierre Aronnax, his assistant Conseil, and harpooner Ned Land to stumble upon Captain Nemo and his submerging ship, the Nautilus, where they explore the intricacies of life under the sea. All is well until they learn of Captain Nemo's true intentions and must join together to escape an imminent death.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. I'd be intrigued.
I mean, it tells you generally like what's going on. It also tells you what the Nautilus is.
Yes, right.
And it also kind of leaves you with like, oh, like what are his true intentions?
Yes.
So, I don't know.
I don't quite know what his true intentions are, to be honest.
I actually have a question written down as I was going through and filling out some notes for this earlier. And I don't know that we really get the gist of his true intentions. We get the idea. We have a clip that we can look at in just a second. That kind of gives us an idea of why Captain Nemo like created the Nautilus and is undersea and living the life that he is. But like, do we ever find out like what his motivation is for ramming and destroying these ships that he keeps doing throughout the movie? Like, is there any motivation that we are like, hey, like he hates these guys?
I think it's more clear in the novel. I would think.
I think
because I googled this just to come up with some talking points, and there were a few things saying that he had some like ethics problems with these like major superpowers, and so just to cut ahead a little bit. There are no pirates in this film, but the one thing I did see that was like kind of reminding me of probably some different pirate captains throughout history was the fact that he would just attack ships just because he was like, I don't like how that country operates.
Right. It doesn't matter who's on it. It doesn't matter any other detail other than that is a ship.
Yeah, it's a very like vindictive, country. Almost like the novel. I'm sure I've never read the novel, but I'm sure the novel presents him more as thinking himself of like a Robin Hood figure, to where he's like giving back to the world by kind of confronting the superpowers when no one else will.
I think it's implied in the novel more that you remember the scene where he's like, I was a slave here. And that's like, why I hate the land and all that.
Yeah.
I think it's implied that was a slave of whatever country, empire. I assume it's supposed to be Great Britain. But, and then the ships that are attacking are those.
Yeah.
Like those things are connected. But in the movie, it doesn't seem like they were. But I think in the book they are. But even still, it's kind of like, okay, so you got a submarine and... I'm gonna ram him.
Yeah, and
that's his plan.
Doesn't the professor and maybe some other guys they actually talk about like why are you doing like you're just killing people, like you're killing innocent people that are on this ship.
Yeah, I think in 54 people would have been less concerned with like plot holes and been like, oh my god, these people are underwater.
Right.
I mean,
I think
you're
that's
probably right. Yeah,
that's probably what the filmmakers thought too.
Mm-hmm. I will say, Braxton and I watched this on Blu-ray. Looked beautiful.
It looked really, really good.
It looked awesome.
Yeah.
Like whatever they've done to preserve the like film from this, which it just looks great. Like whoever, I guess, did the coloring on it, or it was in film, so it's probably just the Technicolor film that they used or whatever. I don't exactly know how all that old.
Yeah, but the colors
works. But it looks like
great.
Vibrant, and it looks. I would say it almost looked warm. I don't know if that was like a vibe they were going for, but like there was something about the movie where like if you were to watch it on like a cold, rainy day, like you'd feel cozy.
Yeah,
it's just the vibe I got from that.
Well, also it's interesting that they chose. I didn't think about this till now until you mentioned it about the anamorphic usage. It totally makes sense they would use anamorphic because I'm sure a lot of the scenes, if you were to walk through the sub scenes or the sets of the sub, you'd be like, this looks kind of stupid. Like, it looks very rinky-dink and weird.
Yeah.
But then you put the anamorphic there, and it makes it like bulgier and wider and like open up more. Probably the like meh sets that they built and made them look like way cooler.
Well, I don't know how meh that they were because they actually used the sets at Disneyland, I think, for a while, where you could go in and like hang out and
they needed a
20,000 Leagues, the Nautilus set.
They didn't know what to put in Tomorrowland and they needed extra space, so they basically put that in there, which is probably one of the first like, hey, come tour this movie's like props, as an attraction.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. That was one thing that I thought was interesting though about Captain Nemo is like what really is motivating him to just go and like destroy these ships and kill these innocent people, and he almost like just doesn't care. Like, what does he actually care about? Like, I mean, we'll hear from his like monologue that he has in the movie in a minute when we take a look at this clip, but like, what does he care about? He doesn't care about riches. He doesn't really care about, I mean, his own life, I would say, because like he goes down with the ship at the end of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
He cares about protecting his pseudo-nuclear power.
I mean, he created a nuclear reactor, right? Like that's what's powering the ship.
Yes. And then he blows up his own island. I'm sure that's some sort of Cold War commentary. I don't quite know what, but
yeah, the power of the sun in the palm of my hand.
Nemoheimer.
Yeah. But no, I thought like, I mean, he kind of just seems to like want to just like live away from society. Like even the professor asked him like, with this technology that you've created with the submarine and the the reactor, which I mean they don't really call it that. They call it just like an energy power source, I guess. But like he's like, you could change like the world. Like you could change the way that people do things. You could change humanity, the way that we just operate on a daily basis. And he's like, yeah, or like it goes into the wrong hands and people use it for the wrong reasons and basically blow us all up.
Yeah.
to an extent. So he's like, I don't know, very negative at times with stuff like that. And like, I'm kind of confused as to why he has such a fondness of the professor. Like he almost at times seems to think the professor is stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Here's another question. When did the novel come out?
1870. Yeah.
Okay, so he would have had knowledge of Civil War submarines, maybe.
Like the earliest of the
earliest of the early.
That's why it was science fiction. It was complete science fiction.
So I wonder how much they've changed. If we were to read the novel, I wonder how much the design would have changed in these more modern representations of submarines.
Right, because basically by the 50s there were completely legitimate nuclear submarines.
And the Nautilus seems very steampunk, like.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which I love.
I
love that design.
Physics.
I love that style.
Yeah, I think part of it is like he kind of, in creating the design for the Nautilus that we see in the movie, he kind of like drew from, like the actual submarines that were around at the time and like how they were described in Jules Verne's novel. And then he also wanted it to look like a shark. I saw some stuff about as well.
It looks sort of like an animal.
Which is why it sort of like looks shark-like with like a ribbed spine on the back. Is because I think he was going for some sort of like shark, like to make it look menacing, I would guess. Maybe he just had a fascination with sharks and thought they were cool and was like, hey, what if like the submarine kind of looked like it? I also wonder, if it looked like a normal submarine, would the people have thought it was a sea monster in the beginning?
Oh, right. Yeah, probably not.
Because I mean,
the glowing things look like eyes.
It glows green like eyes, and then it's moving through the water in such a way that it would look like some kind of a like shark-esque, like giant monster thing that's just destroying ships. Because hardly anyone has lived. I mean, you're in the middle of the ocean. they had the one guy at the beginning that had lived and come to tell the tale, and even he, like, I would assume, didn't get too good of a glimpse. He didn't get too good of a glimpse of it because he describes it basically as a monster. Which, I mean, I don't know, if you're in 1868 when this movie set and you see something like that, how on earth would you even know what
it might as well
what
be
it was? Yeah, it might as well be a monster.
1868. Yeah, like 1868 technology was nowhere close. Like if you look at the H.L. Hunley, I make this joke all the time. Basically, if you see one of those like 20-foot long barbecue smokers, that's basically the H.L. Hunley. That's basically what
that
it
guy
was.
was just like the equivalent of like a redneck guy being like, "Hey, watch this! Like, look, I'm gonna take this thing and put it in the water,
Yeah.
like just because." And then I'm going to get in history books.
Yeah.
So, but like at the time, that's even still crazy to imagine. Because we're like assuming that this guy, within a few years of all this stuff happening, would know about submarines existing. It could be a case of like he invented this idea before he knew that military technology was going there.
Well, and they don't really call it a submarine. They call it a submerging ship. So, like, I would assume that...
That's probably from the book, I bet.
Yeah, and I would assume that, it would be fairly easy to dream up, well, what if the ships didn't have to be on the water? What if they could be under?
Right. And I think from what I remember, like, there's stuff... Like, there's stuff that he's, and you can call it predictions, right? You know what I mean? Like, oh, the actual submarines actually do work like that way, or they have this thing, like, watertight doors or whatever, stuff like that. And it's like, yes, like, it's interesting sci-fi, and it is predictions, but it's also like, if you were to hypothesize, how would you build something that could go underwater? You come to these natural conclusions. So it is both a prediction, but also it's probably, he got it from... the knowledge of this is probably where it's going to go anyway.
Well, and I just looked it up just because I was curious. The first submarine was built in 1620 by Cornelius Drebbel, a Dutch inventor who built a vessel for the English King James I. The early submarine was a leather-covered rowboat that was tested in the River Thames and was capable of submerging to about 15 feet. So, I mean, that
doesn't count.
Why not?
Basically, like what they did in.
There's a picture of this thing online. Like it looks like a blimp, like a brown blimp that I guess you would submerge underwater. But I mean, we're talking about 1868, and this was originally invented in 1620. And I mean, even if people are not like super aware that this even is a thing.
Okay, I don't know if this is a meme or not, but
you
there's
could
a thing
figure
that
stuff
says
out.
The first Russian submarine, and it looks like a giant like whiskey barrel. But I don't think it's a meme. I think this is actually one that was really built. But it looks like a giant, like, the little barrels that stuff comes in.
Yeah.
It's that times but it's like
30
foot long.
One of the attempted rescues of Napoleon in exile was planned to be a submarine.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Dang, that's interesting. Okay, well, I know we've talked about the ship, and I'm sure we'll talk about it a little bit more. So let's go ahead and like give everybody an idea, in case they haven't watched the movie, what the Nautilus actually looks like.
I can hardly
it
believe
looks cool, man.
how one could conceive and build such a craft, and in a single stroke harness power beyond the wildest dreams of science. Why, such a secret could revolutionize the world.
Or destroy it.
This is an awesome effect. That thing is really cool.
I don't know who made that.
See
It
how
looks like
peaceful it is here.
like the aperture ring of a camera.
Yeah, like a
opening up.
giant aperture.
An immense reservoir of nature where I roam at will. With seeming indifference, Captain Nemo held the key to the future of the world. As I studied him, I became aware that powerful forces were at work within this strange man.
I like how you called him a strange man.
Think of it. On the surface, there is hunger and fear. Men still exercise unjust laws. They fight, tear one another to pieces. A mere few feet beneath the waves, their reign ceases, their even drowns. Here on the ocean floor is the only independence. Here I am free.
I found it interesting when I watched this back earlier to cut this clip up, that he, talks about how evil that everyone is that's on the surface, and they're doing unjust things, yada yada yada. And he makes it seem like him being underwater is so much better, and yet he is doing just as bad things.
Havoc.
But he's also doing just as bad things as everyone else. Like, he's murdering ships full of men.
Yeah.
And is like, I'm doing the Lord's work here.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Is a contradiction.
Captain Nemo is an interesting person. Speaking of, I don't know if you saw this, but on the Wikipedia page, when you scroll down to the bottom for this movie, they are working on, or I say they're working on, I think it actually was released in June of this year, a show specifically about the origins of Captain Nemo.
It's interesting.
I think it's called Nautilus. They have apparently tried to remake this movie at some point.
Oh yeah,
within the past
right?
decade, and I think it just kind of continuously falls apart towards.
Yeah, it's probably stuck in
as they get closer.
Hell.
I think one of the people was either writing or directing it wanted Will Smith to play Captain Nemo, and I think Will Smith said he wasn't interested. He had other stuff going on or something, and I think basically after that it kind of all fell apart. And that was in 2013, and I think they tried to do something else in 2021. I don't know. There's been several attempts, I think, to make a remade 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, which that seems to kind of be something that happens a lot. Not with just popular movies, but especially with Disney, is just to remake things.
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
we're seeing it all the time right now with live action remakes of stuff. It seems like there's one a year. There's even stuff like Mufasa that I don't understand.
Is
why
a sequel to a live action remake of
it's actually a prequel,
which is not really live action because it's animated, but they just look anyway.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's some very questionable things that are being pushed out by Disney, and it seems like and most of the stuff that they do is successful. It makes money,
right?
And people go watch them, and you could look at Zootopia 2, which just came out, that is smashing box office records. I mean, they made a sequel to Zootopia. It made $500 million in the first weekend, and I think it is the highest grossing opening weekend for any. I think it was either any movie or any animated movie in China, and it's I think the biggest animated worldwide.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, freaking nuts. I mean, you've had movies like Inside Out 2. There's 4 Toy Stories, about to be a 5th one. I mean, you've got tons of animated movies, and this one is the one that brought the people out. So, but I mean, I could totally see them, even after this Nautilus show, especially if it had success, though, wanting to remake a 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. The only problem is, would they actually shoot any of it underwater today?
It's a good question.
Because I feel like that alone, was so cool to see in this movie.
Yeah, especially when they were yanking on that sea turtle and really making you question, was the ASPCA involved here?
That made me mad, actually. So,
yeah,
I was cool with a couple things, and then I saw a sea turtle, and I was like, "What?"
Yeah, but so you see that, and you're like, "Oh, this is the '50s." Yep, along with the native people invasion. You're like, "Oh no, this is the '50s." Okay, yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know, but some of the underwater stuff is awesome.
It was really cool.
Speaking of, there's a scene in this that is somewhat piratey.
True. They find
Underwater.
a ship.
They find a ship that has a chest of treasure. To the point that when they got on said ship, Braxton said, "They're going to find a chest, aren't they?" To which, like 2 seconds later, this guy picks up a chest like it's nothing, and they open it. Which, did he like jiggle the lock on the thing?
He barely,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. I was like, yeah, because that would come off that easy. Which it might. I mean, the thing's been under there for who knows how long. Which they don't get to keep. Which isn't that part of...
Okay, actually, yeah, you just caught a bingo.
Isn't that part of your bingo?
Yeah,
is that they don't get to keep the treasure? They found treasure on a sunken,
and
I would
there's
guess,
treasure,
pirate ship.
There's treasure on Nemo's ship.
Yeah.
That he wants to take, but he can't.
Yeah, and doesn't get to keep it
Dang,
either.
You're good. You're pretty sharp.
You know what they say. But no, I mean, that's probably, I would say, the most piratey thing about this movie. Because this is absolutely in no way a pirate movie.
No.
But it is, I mean, it's sailing, I would guess.
Yeah, it's definitely, you know.
I mean, it may be closer
related.
to to Davy Jones's crew than
yeah,
underwater
he sort
the whole
of
time.
he sort of is a Davy Jones type character, really, right? Where he's not obviously he's sort of implied to be doing evil things, but really his character is much more neutral or ambiguous as far as what his actual like purpose is within his own mind. And the organ also is kind of interesting, right? It made me wonder if, you know, obviously, which that's why he does it in this movie, right? An organ sort of sounds kind of creepy anyway. It's a cool thing to have designed in the, you know, in the ship. Yeah, he plays the classic creepy organ song. But I wonder if that's like that archetype of the organ is why they had Davy Jones play an organ in Dead Man's Chest. Or was it even like, oh, like Captain Nemo played an organ and it was cool on his ship. What if we have a big, you know, organ for Davy Jones to play? I wonder.
Yeah, and Davy Jones looked back at the camera and was like, "Call me Captain Nemo," and then went to playing.
He looked at the camera and said, "Afraid to get wet."
Well, that he actually did say.
He actually did say that. He said he didn't look at the camera though.
Oh man.
Also, by the way, we're not going to gloss over the fact that he smokes seaweed.
He does.
Like,
and their menu is so strange too.
Well, that's what's funny. Some of the stuff I feel like they were implying to be like disgusting, and I'd be like, that doesn't sound that bad. It just sounds like weird seafood.
Yeah. Like,
And then- and
they eat
then-
lobster, and the guys are like, "Ew, that's so nasty."
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, that sounds freaking delicious.
And then, but the fact at the end of all that scene, when they, you know, after they have the meal, they have to have a smoke, and then it's implied that the cigars they are smoking is seaweed. Like,
See,
what does that even mean?
I don't.
Like,
I couldn't figure out if these cigars themselves were seaweed or they were wrapped in seaweed.
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
gonna assume
I
that they
guess.
were smoking seaweed.
Yeah, I mean, it has weed right in the name.
I mean, which I would guess would be more of a joke about people smoking weed than.
Yeah, but in the
than-
50s, though, they wouldn't joke about that, though. They'd call it reefer.
Yeah, I don't know. They might.
It's still really stupid that I could believe everything else, but then when they were like, "Yeah, this is seaweed," I was like, "Come on."
I mean, we watched them harvest all kinds of things off the bottom of the sea, including
They
seaweed. So,
Yep, turtles.
yeah, they really did. And then he made an instrument out of a turtle shell.
Yeah, that was a little disturbing. Seeing the turtle shell turned into an instrument.
I mean, people do that all the time. There's
Yeah.
still countries around the world where that's a normal thing, isn't it?
Yeah, and then he also doesn't he. What does he hit with the guitar? Does he hit someone over the head with it? Or did he smashes it?
I don't remember.
There's
He
also
plays
the weird part
he
at the
plays
beginning
it for
where there's a
the
musical
sea line
number.
a couple times,
Yeah.
which is
That's how you know this is a Disney movie. Is like it's very like it's got like Cold War themes and it's very dark and weird and strange. But then there's a musical number and there's a seal side character.
A whale of a tail.
And you're like, okay, though I guess this is a Disney movie.
Yeah. I should have prompted Christian to learn A Whale of a Tale and play it here on the on the podcast. No?
Apparently, that actor requested. Apparently, that was like not something that was scripted early on. It was something that he requested.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he looked like he was having too much fun for that to be
You know what it
scripted.
is? I wonder if like Kirk Douglas, the actor, was like, "Oh, I get to be in a Disney movie," and then he was disappointed that he wasn't going to get to sing or something, so they made him put that in. Maybe, like he wanted to show off his singing.
Yeah, I mean, very well could have. I think that was actually released as a single as well. That was pretty successful.
They were trying to create that Davy Crockett money.
Davy Crockett, King of the Wild Frontier.
I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I do think that this movie was like a ground zero for like the steampunk style, which I always find interesting, especially when it's in like set design in movies.
It's a really cool ship. I feel like that for sure is the most memorable thing about this entire movie. Like, I almost think they should have changed the name of the movie from 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea to just like the Nautilus or Captain
That's what the
Nemo.
remake's going to be called.
Yeah, I mean, there's trailers, which I think is what the show is actually titled, if I'm remembering correctly.
Nautilus.
It's called the Nautilus. But, like, I mean, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea is already a misleading title.
Now, why would you say that?
I don't know, Braxton. Why would I say
it's
that?
because it's a common misconception that it's not 20,000 leagues down, it's 20,000 leagues across. They travel under the sea 20,000 leagues, which is basically would be around the earth like a bunch of times. Because 20,000 leagues is about 60,000 miles.
No. I think Earth's circumference is 20,000, 25,000.
I think it's like 2,000. Isn't it? No, it would be
Miles?
20,000.
There's no way, bro.
Hold on. Let me look at this.
What is the circumference of the Earth?
I mean, it's like 2,000 miles across
I
the
know.
U.S., isn't it?
Yeah.
24,901.
Cool.
However, if you measure pole to pole, because it is a... What's the term for the Earth? It's not a perfect...
Oh, yeah.
It's
like an slight oval shape.
Yeah, there's a term for it. If you measure pole to pole, it is 24,860. So that's 41 miles of circumference that you use, that you lose.
Interesting. But, something I also found on the Wikipedia, which was a joke about... Basically, SNL did a skit about people misunderstanding the 20,000 Leagues thing. Did you see that, Ryan?
I read something about it, but I haven't watched the skit.
Yeah, but basically, the bit is people keep, in more and more absurd ways, keep misunderstanding the concept of 20,000 Leagues.
Like, I didn't even think about it being a submarine. Like, I didn't make a connection before I watched this that Captain Nemo and the Nautilus, which I have heard of but have never actually seen this movie, were in this. Like, I thought this was some sort of a play on Atlantis and its life 20,000 leagues below the sea.
Something interesting about this movie is that it was eventually developed into a Disney ride. Originally at Disneyland, there was a ride that was just called Submarine Voyage. That was built within Tomorrowland. That it wasn't themed to Jules Verne or anything. It was just literally because submarines were, modern still. It was basically hey, come, take a ride on this, submarine. That wasn't it's not themed to anything specific, just the ocean, basically. But then when they opened the Disney World in 1971, they created a half, sort of a copy of it, but they adapted it to be about, the submarines looked like the Nautilus in this movie, the ride was more fantastical than scientific. And it was called, 20,000 Leagues Undersea Voyage.
I actually found a couple. There's a couple videos on YouTube that people have, I guess, dug up from when they took their camcorder with them to Disneyland or World or whichever one it was, and filmed basically the entire ride. And I've cut it down to 3 minutes ish. There's one video that's 5 something, and there's one that's 7.5 minutes or so. But there's some parts of the ride that are so dark you can't really see them on camera very well, and so I cut most of that out because there's no reason for us to look at it. But it is pretty cool, and one of them had a really cool opening shot where you can actually see a good view of the Nautilus that you actually get in and ride. Mm-hmm. Then there was a second one that I liked because the guy actually pulls away from the window at one point and kind of looks around the inside of it, and I was like, oh, that's freaking cool. Has a cool sign.
I would have loved to have ridden this.
Dude, it looks awesome. The ships that they made for this ride look so cool.
Basically how it worked is it all runs on a track. And then it stays above the water. It never goes down. But the idea is when you go into it, the water level is perfectly at the window.
Yeah,
so
you
it seems like
you basically
you've
look
gone
down the whole ride.
Yeah.
The ships look super cool. As Disney does, all of their stuff is designed super well at their parks.
Yeah. And all the bubbles make the illusion that they're going
There's lots
deeper.
of bubbles, you're going undersea, and you hear some of it through the intercom. Captain Nemo just said, "Welcome aboard the Nautilus."
That will take us on a voyage 20,000 leagues under the sea.
Now, that's across, not down. It's a common misconception, you see.
Seldom seen by man. So make yourselves comfortable.
And it has
Score
organ
with
music
the
in the
organ.
background.
Seated at all times.
Please remain seated at all times.
That is so cool.
The fish world has always been considered a silent habitat, but with our sonar hydrophones, we've discovered that fish actually talk. Listen.
Actually talk. Yeah, the inside of the Nautilus looks pretty cool, man. I mean, it's missing, some amenities. It'd be nice to actually have an organ in there, but...
Oh, diver.
Yeah, there's some divers out the window. I think this part is kind of like a shipwreck.
These rotting holes have kept their secret treasures, safeguarded by silent sentinels of the deep, man-eating sharks.
And it looks cool. It looks like,
predators of the sea.
Similar to what they found when they actually stumbled upon the shipwreck, but it's guarded by sharks.
So well because the underwater, it is underwater.
Legends of sea serpents.
And just that simple fact makes it look it makes your brain believe that you're way deep underwater.
Yeah.
Belay their mate. Anyone
Well,
who's
and they
right by
they
knows
play with
there's
the
no
light
such thing as
too.
sea
There's a big
serpents
sea
or
serpent.
mermaids. Mr. Baxter, if you think you're seeing mermaids and sea monsters, you've been submerged too long.
It kind of looks derpy,
Yeah.
I hope that you enjoyed your
but
journey
it's funny.
20,000 leagues under the sea. And of course, the rest of your stay.
I hope you enjoyed your ride. So, and there was it's a whole lot longer than that, but some of it was so dark on the video that you couldn't really see what was going on. But I mean, dude, it looks super cool. Whoever thought hey, let's design this ride and make it where the ship never really goes underwater, and it's nice too that in the shallow parts, the water, because of how the ride is set up, like it looks like you're underwater, but it's also like really sunny and bright where you can actually see
all
what's
the
underwater.
interesting
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
They don't have to like light it artificially to where it looks like, oh yeah, like that doesn't really look like I'm underwater.
Mm-hmm.
So having the natural light like makes it seem like, hey, I like am actually underwater right now, which I mean you sort of are, but
Yeah, it's a great example of a ride that's so simple. There's nothing fancy to it, but it's like it's perfect.
Yeah.
For like what it is. Like, and especially like if you're a kid, you would get on that thing and be like, "Oh, yep, we're underwater right now.
Mhm.
We are looking at Atlantis right now." So this does relate to something that I really enjoy, which is defunct theme park rides.
Mm-hmm.
And this is one because it does not exist anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But something really weird did happen to it where like that footage I believe said 1993.
That one did. The second half of it I think is actually said 1992, where like there was a cut in there.
So in 1994 they shut it down supposedly for repairs. And then
Never opened.
it never ever reopened, and it sat there for 10 years until 2004, not operating. Basically, probably because they had shut it down, probably with the intention of replacing it with something very quickly. But right around that time, Disney, didn't have a lot of money to spend on the parks, or at least they weren't spending it in the parks. And so it wasn't until they completely rebuilt Fantasyland and all of that was leveled. But it's weird that they didn't run it for that time, that it just sat there. And
yeah, and you got to walk past and everyone was like, "Ew,
Yep.
look, it's haunted.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, Captain Nemo haunts
Okay.
these waters."
Speaking of haunted, Abandoned is the name of the channel. And they go over, defunct theme park stuff, but other interesting things, hotels that were closed or like mega projects that were never built, just interesting stuff like that. But this is it's not footage, but it's video or pictures of that the construction crews took.
By early 2004, that demolition would finally come. First, with draining the entire site. That revealed the sun-worn and corroded props in the main lagoon, which then began to be ripped out. However, inside the show building, well, things were a lot more eerie. Since 1994, all of the props formerly underwater had remained in place, also corroded and now in the process of being removed. In the dark, rather low height of the show building, standing from the wooden service catwalks, cast members, demolition, and salvage crews all took some truly incredible photos of the former attraction. With just about a foot or two of standing black water below, all of the showpieces were now exposed in no way a guest would have ever seen. Out of the water, they also showed how decayed everything had gotten, with these show scenes just sitting idly in the water, presumably without any maintenance for almost a decade. Sediment had settled on much of the fiberglass rockwork, while the waterline is a distinct indication of the amount of fading. Perhaps the most eerie section, though, is the Atlantis scene. The decapitated stone heads, along with all of the other stone structures, just feel so liminal. And both animatronic serpents are genuinely frightening, sitting there in around a foot of dark water in a pitch black room. Those, along with both disintegrating giant squids, are nightmare fuel. And it's pretty weird to think that all of this was just sitting here within the most visited theme park on Earth. But
Yeah, that's pretty spoopy.
Yeah, like liminal space, and also that's the whole like submechanophobia thing, right? Like like an underwater machine. Like, could you imagine for some reason, like if you were in the water and like you came upon an old creepy animatronic or something that just
People
comes
don't
out of the
like.
darkness?
I don't know what it is. People don't like seeing man-made stuff underwater.
Yeah, it does. It bothers me. Like it's trippy.
That's crazy that it just sat there for that long and
It's
decayed
unusual.
and like, I mean, I don't know how much maintenance would have been going on like while the ride was active, like in terms of like cleaning things
Yeah.
but I mean, you can imagine if it sits for any amount of time, much less 10 years, Like it's got to be just nasty too.
Mm-hmm.
On top of, not working and just looking terrifying.
Yeah, I think that's part of the reason why they shut it down. Also, was like it was one of the most. It was like 5 times the cost of any other ride to operate continuously. Like with all the water pumping stations and all the, it costs so much. Even though people loved it, and the bubbles, the expenses were crazy.
I'm sure, man. I'm sure I don't know. Seems like a lot. By the time you add up just electricity to run that thing with all the water and everything, I'm sure it was outrageous.
But the giant squid, though, made me think of the squid in the movie, which I think that's probably the most memorable scene, I guess, or the most interesting scene. Because the whatever they did, I guess it's a puppet, I assume. Maybe partly animatronic. I don't know. But
I think it was animatronic.
The squid looked like it looks really good. Like it looks, the way that it moves, the tentacles looks like a real squid's tentacles, which is
and I think the cut that actually made the movie was like during a thunderstorm, like a crazy thunderstorm. I don't know if it's at night, but like the storm just makes it darker. And they said that I originally shot it where the squid attacks them in like somewhat shallow water on a calm day, and they were like, "Yeah, this just doesn't seem like scary enough."
It just didn't look good,
Well, but there's something I think added to that scene by making it like during a thunderstorm. That's like, oh, the waters are already choppy, and we're having which I mean they're underwater, so maybe they're not affected quite as much. But don't have quite as much control over the ship or something maybe. And then on top of that, they're getting chased by a squid that eventually like grounds them and makes them where they can't do anything with the ship. But yeah, the squid scene's crazy. And they shocked that thing. Didn't do anything. It was like, you can't hurt me, suckers. You should see my electric eel. Oh man. So I don't know if we even touched on it yet. But most of the underwater scenes in this were shot in the Bahamas and Jamaica. And it looks awesome. Like that.
Yeah.
The underwater stuff is super cool. And I don't know. I didn't look it up. But I was curious if the actors themselves like learned to scuba dive and actually went underwater and like walked around, or if they like had stunt guys that were like trained in scuba diving to go down and walk along the seafloor. And I don't know, did they actually like catch sea turtles? Like, was that?
They looked pretty dang real.
I mean, they looked real. I mean, how many animals were harmed in the making of this movie? Like, is this the reason that they have to?
Squid.
Is this the reason they have to put it at the end of a movie now that no animals were harmed? Like, because they like injured sea turtles and
I don't know. Have you ever heard of the Disney Lemmings controversy? Okay, so there's a myth that lemmings, which are
the birds from Up.
They're not birds. They're more like a squirrel creature, I think. But there's a myth that lemmings would like all like get in a group and like would like run like off a cliff.
Okay.
Like basically because they would they would be so concerned with following their own group that they wouldn't, eventually that being a lemming was a term like people would say today would be like, oh, sheep, someone who follows the crowd. But that myth existed, I think, and that Disney was shooting one of their nature documentaries, and basically, because they wanted this shot in the movie, they like mass killed a bunch of lemmings by forcing them to go off a cliff so they could get the shot of them falling off of the cliff. And it was a big controversy. Especially, it's funny that it was Disney.
Okay, well.
Yeah, so that happened.
Christian, how historically accurate is this movie?
Not very accurate, but that's what makes good science fiction. And it gave me the idea earlier of we need to have our own little side project and find the movies that predicted what like current time period would be like.
Okay.
And just see what they came up with. Because I think it's fascinating that this guy wrote a book and it was so futuristic that, I mean, 150 years later, people are still talking about it.
Yeah.
Just for it being unique.
Well, and like we just went and watched The Running Man a few weeks ago, and that movie is set in 2025. Like the book itself that it was based on, which is Stephen King, I think, is literally he said it in 2025, and they were like, "We need to make this," because there was already a movie, and they were like, "Oh, we should remake this," and like, I don't know that it's like a perfect depiction of like today's times in any sense, but like there were aspects of it that I was like, yeah, I can see that happening.
Yeah, so a lot of the themes are sort of
like there's a
know.
game show where a guy is like running on a like hamster wheel for money, and it's basically like how fast can you go, or like with every wrong answer or something it speeds up, and I think you eventually like fall to your death. I don't necessarily know that you would fall to your death, but I was like, Mr. Beast would totally do something like that.
That was the top letterbox review was, please don't show Mr. Beast this movie.
We also need to make like a family tree of different pirate movie things, like organs, like peg legs, and we can trace them back to movies like this. Yeah.
Did you have anything else for historical accuracy?
No, other than submarines at that time looked nothing like that. I'm sure most sea captains at that time were pretty weird. So that tracks.
You're probably right. I did find it interesting though, this movie depicting the the age of like the steamer ship.
Yeah.
Which you don't really see. You usually either see, it's like the Titanic type ship, like early full metal like cruise liners, or it's the 18th century age of sail ship. But there's a period of like, less than 100 years where ships were really big, but they had sails and they had a steam-powered engine.
Which one had the steam-powered engine?
Like the boat that they're on at the beginning. Because like it has sails, but it also has like a boiler for producing steam that powers the motor.
Where they
like
weren't just like sitting there still if they ran into a place with no wind or something.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That was cool. Yeah, I didn't figure, there'd be too much historical accuracy with this one, especially since it's not a pirate movie and we're not actually talking about anything piratey.
I will say the one thing that is piratey is kind of how he acted and how he was very...
Which one?
Captain Nemo. How he was,
yeah, there was a little bit of that there, right?
He was kind of like a loose cannon to where you couldn't determine his morals, and the whole point of piracy is that it is like going beyond the rules of warfare, and that's what he was doing. He was like a vigilante in his own mind,
which is sort of his goal as well. So yeah, there's a little bit of it in there. I think
there's a lot of pirate origin stories that are like, this country wronged me. I'm going to get them back however I can.
Yeah. Was there any connection with like him and his crew where he's basically the one that like freed them from their slavery and they are loyal to him, that would have anything to do with piracy and like crews? Like crew building?
It definitely did happen.
I forgot about that.
For example, there's this one Puerto Rican pirate that was kind of known for recruiting very poor or like racially looked down upon within the Puerto Rican culture at that time, recruiting kind of the outcasts of the society, and some think that it made like the crews more loyal because he was giving them a shot that they would not have otherwise. It was like their one shot of crawling out of what they were born into.
That's cool. Braxton, you got Pirate Bingo for us.
I do, with an update that you made just recently. That yes, correct, they don't get to keep the treasure. There's a treasure chest. They do say ahoy. There is cannon fire.
They said ahoy?
They said ahoy, yeah.
Oh, when did they say ahoy?
At one point, he's using a radio, I think they call like this, and they're to get someone's attention. Ahoy.
Cool.
I marked the 18th century ship, which is technically correct. It looks old enough. Piles of gold treasure. That's not one we see that often, but in that
vault
cabinet vault
Yeah.
thing, there's they do sing a sea shanty because they sing the Whale of a Tale song.
Yeah.
We don't see that too often either.
Yeah. Christian, that's your homework, is to learn that song.
Okay. You can too.
There's
Yeah,
There's
but
a
you would
map.
be able to
Do
pick
it.
it up way better, way quicker than I
Okay.
can. It'll take me a
I
while, I'm
did
sure.
mark that there's an unnecessarily shirtless guy on the crew because several times Kirk Douglas takes off his shirt and you're like, okay.
Do you count some
Alright.
sort of animal? Because they did have a sea lion.
No, I don't. I have
Because I would say
monkey
that
or
was
a
Captain
parrot.
Nemo's parrot or monkey. 'Cause he just
Was
had a
the-
sea
yeah,
lion.
was the sea lion.
Yeah.
What about would y'all count the giant squid as a kraken? Is that close enough to a kraken?
I mean, I joked about that whenever we
Yeah,
were watching.
I think it could count as a kraken. It's sort of a mythical monster.
It's some sort of a sea monster. I don't know. Christian, what do you think? Yay, nay?
I don't know. I think that also depends on what part of the world are we in.
Well, I would just be curious. The only reason that I would say yes, that giant squid counts as a kraken, is that if someone were to get attacked by that in 1868 and they went back and reported it to their friends and townspeople, what would they refer to that as? No, seriously. Would they refer to that as I got attacked by a giant squid, or would they be like, I don't know, something crazy like a kraken attacked me?
Well, I mean, they thought that a mechanical device was a monster, so
Mhm.
they
So-
don't know much.
Every kraken is a giant squid, but we're questioning if every giant squid is.
Okay, here's my thought. Every kraken is not a giant squid, but every giant squid could be considered a kraken in the sense that if you could say it is a mythical sea monster, even though it is real. Because there was that blurry video of it from 2005 off of Japan. You remember that?
Did they call it a kraken?
I just
No,
want
they
there
called
to
it
be
a giant squid, but we're not in the 1800s.
I want there to be a movie with three very old sea captains around a fire just debating this.
It's happening right now.
That's the opening
This
scene.
is the movie. We're doing it right now. And it's the sea captain from The Fog, and then it does the same thing from The Fog, where the camera goes when he opens his pocket watch. Remember The Fog?
Yeah. Man, I could say either way. I mean, when it popped up, I was like, oh, they have a kraken in this movie, as a joke, but I didn't necessarily mean oh yeah, that's a kraken.
If we count it as a kraken, that gives it 9, which that beats some of the recent few that we've been watching, but not all.
I mean, I feel like just having a treasure chest kind of
It's already a little bit ahead of
it's already
of other things.
Yeah, I mean, if we were to weight some of the pirate bingo stuff, I mean, I think treasure chest would probably be weighted up there, and even dodgeball, there is a treasure chest sort of at the end, but that's so loose. This is a legit.
I think it might be tied with a dodgeball.
Yeah, this is a legit treasure chest with sunken treasure in it in this movie, which is cool. So 9. Is that what we're going with on Pirate Bingo for this one?
Yep, it is tied with a dodgeball.
And Dodgeball had a pirate in it, so
Yes.
just imagine if there was a pirate in this movie. It'd be up there. It would definitely be up there. Maybe that's what they need to make when they decide they're going to remake something. Make it 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
It's going to be Pirates of the Caribbean 6, and it's going to be
Make it 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea with some kind of pirates.
When I shot my documentary project a couple months ago, the lawyer said I was working with, They are from the UK. And they made me aware that they met this guy who started this one dating app called Sea Captain Date.
Yeah.
And Braxton
I know
just
about
reminded
this.
me of it. So they met the owner, and he's supposed to. He said it might take a few months, but he's supposedly sending me some merch from Sea Captain Date.
That's cool.
That's amazing.
They have the most unhinged marketing ever. It's all like AI generated videos that make no sense.
Are you familiar with what this is, Ryan?
I have no clue what this
Like
is.
it became a meme, like people looking at it like on Twitch and stuff, just because it was ridiculous.
Yeah.
But the idea behind it is people who like a Captain Phillips type, who their job is driving ships. So because of that, they're moving all the time. They're very rarely in one place. Hard to get into a relationship. So it's basically a place for if the women or people who who would be okay with that in a relationship, they make profiles on there.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the idea behind it. It's sort of like farmers only, but it actually logistically makes more sense as to why you would need a dating app. But the cover of it is a guy who looks like me. Like,
Have you signed up for Sea Captain Date?
No.
No. See, that seems like something you would do. That's why I feel like you would know about Sea Captain Date at all. As you saw it, we're like, I'm signing up for that, baby. I mean, look at you. You got the hat and
I'm
everything.
going to say it just like that.
Yeah. You just take a screenshot of you right now and put it as your profile picture on there.
You going to take a cruise by Somalia? It's a little dangerous.
That's so random. Would they are they trying to find like other sea captains? Like, I guess
No, they're trying to find women that are okay with their interest being a sea captain.
Or it's
so
not being at
women
home
that
a
have
lot.
sea captain fetishes is what I'm hearing.
Well, I'm sure that's a lot of it, yes. I wasn't going to say that, but yes.
yeah.
Okay.
It
So
seemed
strange.
to me that a lot of it was old sea captain men that were just like constantly in different ports, and they didn't know how to meet people.
Right.
And so this gave people in a nearby port, and apparently if you are signing up as one of the like browsing people, if you are not a sea captain, I don't think you have to be a sea captain to get on, but if you are going to make a profile, apparently you have to be within a certain like radius of known ports or like major ports.
Interesting.
Okay. Interesting. That's cool. Whenever you get the merch, you'll have to wear it on the pod. That's so funny. Oh, man. All right. Well, let's get into our ratings. So if you're new here and you're unfamiliar with our rating scale, it is called the Pieces of 8. We rate the movies on a general scale of 0 to 8 and a piratiness scale of 0 to 8. Braxton, do you have your ratings ready?
I thought about it about 5 minutes into this episode, and I got them.
All right. Start us off.
For piratiness?
For piratiness?
I'm going to say this episode with my hat cocked the way it is and the way I've been speaking, it sounds like I've been drinking. I haven't. I'm just kind of sleepy, and then the hat being like this makes it seem even more
I
so.
sound like I've been
And
drinking.
the fact that I'm wearing a robe, right? Anyone who wears a robe, it's like there's a 50-50 chance of them being high or intoxicated. Piratiness, Your Honor. I would give it a 2.
Okay.
Just because, it takes place on the sea.
Yeah.
There's, seafaring terms, yada, yada, yada. Overall, I would give it a 6 out of 8.
Okay.
Mainly for, like we said, production design, I think is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I think the score is fantastic. It's old, which this isn't always the case, but of course it's very slow,
Very slow.
but it is interesting. And I think, it being slow because it's old is sort of its only thing holding it back. I think everything else about it is really good.
Yeah. On a general scale, I thought this movie was really good. I enjoyed it. It is slow at times, but I feel like that's just kind of how movies from like this time period kind of are. I sort of felt the same way about like Treasure Island. I've even felt this way about Master and Commander, which is a whole lot newer. Is that there's just not a whole lot going on, and I don't know if that's because of the era of movies that we're in now and what we're conditioned to seeing is just a lot of like action and fast paced editing and like I don't know. That's not how things. That's not how things used to be. But I really enjoyed this one. I would say this is probably toward the top of the movies that we've seen so far. Like something about the Nautilus and Captain Nemo I found very interesting, and I really like the underwater shots because you could tell like those are actual shots underwater, and we just don't see those a whole lot. So I gave this a 6.5 out of 8. And then piratiness, like there's some things in there. I was kind of back and forth on what to give this movie because there are some things in this that I was like, wow, like that's actually like somewhat close to piracy. But there were also plenty of things where I was like, this actually has nothing to do with pirates.
Yeah.
And for that, I'm going to give this a 2 as well on the piratiness scale. And I feel like I could very easily give this a 3 and bump it up a little bit just because of the treasure and some things like that. But I mean, there's just not a whole lot there.
I'm going with a 5 and a 2.
Okay.
Cool.
2's across the
I
board.
think it was a little boring, but you have to give it credit for being just the spectacle that it was at the time, for being so bold and attempting to do what they did. And I will give it a 2 just because of the reasons that I stated. 1, there was a treasure chest, but 2, how Captain Nemo kind of
His characterization,
how he operated his life was very reminiscent of plenty of pirates, I would say.
I think part of the reason, now that I'm thinking about it, that I would give this a 6.5 out of 8 is like it was slow at times up until they like actually meet Captain Nemo and get on the Nautilus. Like honestly, you could have had
with so many movies, right?
I mean,
where it's like
there's
the
so much
part,
stuff
and then it
like
really
at the
starts.
beginning where it's just like, why are we even focusing on this? Like you literally could have opened the movie with someone like running into town screaming like there's a sea monster, and everyone like gears up and goes out, and then these 3 guys like stumble upon the sea monster, and then the movie goes from there, and it takes like 5 to 10 minutes instead of 25 or 30.
That's what would actually fix a lot of the movie is if they cut 10 minutes from the beginning and it was just 2 hours.
Because once they get on the ship, like there's stuff going on. Like Captain Nemo himself is interesting. He's showing stuff underwater. Like there's things going on where they're walking around, they're eating weird foods. They like go and like row onto an island and like get chased by the indigenous people there that are cannibals. Like they get electrocuted. Like there's so much stuff. Like after the Nautilus, like they actually find the Nautilus and get on it. That happens. Like, and I think the 2 hour and 7 minute runtime. I looked at this the other day. I think Treasure Island was an hour and 37 minutes, and in 4 years we've added an extra 30 minutes to a movie.
Yeah, it should have been cut.
Like I really do think that the biggest problem, and the reason that maybe this season even more love than it is that the beginning is just boring. Like there's nothing going on of any importance or significance. I don't know.
But you know what I've found with a lot of these, like Treasure Island, this movie, sort of older classic stuff, is they're great like Sunday afternoon movies when you sort of halfway watch something, because you can, let it play, you start messing with something else, the good scene comes on, you sit and watch it for 15 minutes, and then you go and do something else. They're really good for that, especially like you said, because a lot of them, the Technicolor, the music, they feel very cozy, they feel very comfortable. So, yeah, Sunday afternoon is the time to watch
I'm telling you, man,
this movie.
A cold, rainy day.
Yes.
This is the perfect time to watch 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. And I mean, honestly, now that I've seen this, the only reason that I think I would ever want to watch this again is if I needed to watch it to talk about it on a podcast again. Like legitimately, I don't think I would ever willingly sit down and turn this on and watch it again.
You gonna buy a Blu-ray?
Nah, that's part of your collection, man.
I know.
It's part of your collection. I mean, the Blu-ray looks great. I mean, we, kind of can't say enough about how good some of these movies look on Blu-ray. Especially some of the older Disney stuff. Like it just, it looks awesome. And I know this is on Disney Plus as well. I didn't actually pull it up on Disney Plus to even see, like, is it in 4K and looks better. Sometimes, like Curse of the Black Pearl, they put on 4K and like screwed up the color grade on it. So like it's not always a good thing. But the Blu-ray that you have, like, it looks great. It looks great.
Yeah, where they probably just scanned the film and did a light correction.
And I mean, I would say that this movie, for sure, if you've never seen it before, you need to watch it at least once. Like it's
one of those.
It's definitely
similar to what we said about Treasure Island.
Yeah, it's a classic. And like it's one that you need to at least watch and because you might actually love it. Like, no joke. There are people who, like, it has a like decently cult following to a sense. But yeah, I don't know that I would sit down and watch this. Like, it would be a cold, rainy afternoon, and I just like legitimately don't want to watch anything else. Where I'm like, oh yeah, let's like curl up with a blanket and fall asleep. That would be the reason I would watch this, is because the nice warm color grade would put me to sleep, and the flamboyant score. Yeah.
Hey, this should be a transition to someday on the podcast we need to watch Atlantis: The Lost Empire.
Yeah.
Which is very heavily inspired by the art direction of this movie, led directly into a lot of the stuff of the design of the machines and the aesthetic of Atlantis: The Lost Empire.
Yeah.
I don't know how, and that would be definitely be a pirate adjacent movie, but yeah.
I mean, we can.
But we've also, from that same area, we got Treasure Planet, which we have to watch because it's a direct,
Yeah. No,
next year.
Yeah, it's on the list somewhere. It's on the list somewhere. All right, well, it's almost time for us to take this ship to port, but before we do, we wanted to make sure you found our proverbial message in a bottle detailing next month's movie of choice. And guys, this one is going to be a very exciting one, because coming January 10th, to kick off the new year, we are watching the new movie, which will be released in theaters on December 19th, 2025, which is the SpongeBob movie, Search for SquarePants. Should be a lot of fun. We love SpongeBob.
Our first in theater one for the pod.
I mean, dude, like legitimately, there has not been a pirate movie come out.
Mm-hmm.
This will be the first one, and we love SpongeBob.
And the last episode of this podcast will be when they come out with Pirates 6.
I mean,
I'm just...
we may go till we die at that point.
That would be really funny.
Or
when we do Pirate 6, we're like, that's it. There's no more.
Or if Nat Trace is pirate treasure movie.
A pirate treasure movie.
Oh my God.
If it is, dude.
What if it is?
I mean,
could you imagine?
The original filming location was Roswell. So.
But what if that somehow... But they could do it. They could link an alien to pirate treasure. They could do it. They could do it.
Nat Trace.
They linked Lincoln's assassination with under the Mount Rushmore is like ink and gold. They could do anything.
Yeah. I don't know. But SpongeBob, we're going to get to watch in a couple weeks. Should be a lot of fun. The trailer for it looks absolutely freaking hilarious. And hopefully it's piratey.
I'm intrigued by
Hopefully it is piratey. I mean,
it really seems like it is.
Looking at all the stuff and watching some of the trailers so far, like it seems like we're going to have some stuff to talk about. So it should be a lot of fun. So definitely, if you get the chance, go to theaters. This is not sponsored. We just want to,
We just like movies.
Well, we just want to keep everybody in the loop too, because we're going to talk about this movie in detail. So if you don't go watch it in theaters, you may have to save that one until you get the chance to watch it, unless you just don't care and you just want to hear our take on SpongeBob: The Search for SquarePants. So thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to hit that subscribe button. We hope you enjoyed 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, and we can't wait for you to join us on our next adventure.